again, and welcome to Jason's in the House. I'm your host, Jason Parisella, realtor with Keller Williams Realty right here in Beverly. Nice to be with you again. Today we have two guests from the Beverly Airport. We have Bill Mahoney, who is the chairman of the Beverly Airport Commission, and then Bob Mezzetti, who is the Beverly Airport manager. So we're going to be obviously today talking about Beverly Airport, and great to have you guys on the show.
Nice
Thank
to
you
be
for
here.
having us.
I was talking to Bob earlier, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. We had Bob on the show, so we want to revisit Beverly Airport and talk about what it does for the community and some history and some things like that to get more familiar with it. So, first question, why don't you first tell us your role, your name again, your role, and a little history about your involvement with the airport.
Bill Mahoney, I'm chairman of the Airport Commission. I've been 26 years on the commission. And as chairman, we really give direction to Bob, and that's in the city charter and FAA rules on how we govern the airport. We meet as a commission. It happens to be tonight. We meet once a month, and we have assignments of different members of the commission to help Bob, who has a massive workload.
Excellent.
And my position as airport manager is the executive officer of the commission. And this is per Massachusetts state law. All the other, with the exception of Logan and Hanscom, all of the airport managers are under the direction of the airport commission. And I've been here, it'll be 20 years this next coming July 1st of 2016.
So would you say 20?
20, it'll be 20
And you've been
years.
with the commission involved for how many years?
26.
Yeah.
Wow. So a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Prior to coming to Beverly, I was the airport manager in Prescott, Arizona, and I worked at Sky Harbor, and then I worked 13 years at Hanscom Field
Wow.
when I was with Massport.
Great.
Yeah.
So give us a brief history about the airport. Where, kind of how it started, how has it evolved, and where it is today, and just a little bit of an overview.
In 1928, a Narrow Club convinced the administration of the city of Beverly that airport is a pretty good thing. They were way ahead of their time, and it evolved. And through the years, the city helped fund the airport, did several things, and then the big change, of course, in 1940, the Army took over a lot of airports, and then in 41, when the war started, they assigned the airport to the Navy to train pilots both at Squantum Naval Air Station in Quincy and at Beverly Airport. And they did a lot of things. They put in runways, they fixed up many things, and they rented it from the city for $1 a year. And then in 1946, really, it was returned to the city of Beverly, and with all these benefits left by the Navy, we just continue to add on. And using FAA grants, which we get yearly, and they've spent several millions of dollars, we were able to build the airport to a pretty viable situation.
Excellent. So just to touch on that point a little bit, so it doesn't cost the taxpayers of Beverly any money to, per se, to run the airport?
No.
Is it self-funded?
No.
Okay. Excellent. So most of the improvements, as you mentioned, were done by the Navy, would you say in the 40s?
The Navy in the 40s, but then the rest of the improvements, to the tune of several $1 million, the FAA provide these grants. In fact, we meet yearly with the FAA and Mass Department of Transportation, and we decide what we do. We just added another year, 2021. Over those years in the airport, they've probably invested $30 to $40 million.
Wow.
This is since the Navy left. And that's how we continue to improve the airport.
And just to step back, was it always city land? Or was it privately owned? The city bought it? Do you know how they actually took it?
The city bought it. Bob, you might want to describe it?
It was all either purchased by the city from private parties.
Okay.
Most of it. Some property in Wenham, about 11 acres in Wenham, and then some property in Danvers. And
yeah, I was going to say too. So Danvers, some of it's some of it's in Danvers, some in Wenham.
Danvers, Wenham, and Beverly, and it was all purchased by private parties. There were some parcels that were when the military took over, that they acquired some property out there with their funds, which were turned over to the city after the war.
Okay. And how does it work with Wenham and Danvers as it relates to Beverly? If it's
Well-
in Danvers or Wenham, how does Beverly,
Well,
what's the
Wenham, we pay
arrangement?
taxes. In Danvers, so they wouldn't have to pay taxes. They put 2 members on the commission. So the commission is 11 members, 2 from Danvers, 9 from Beverly.
Okay.
So the Danvers do not pay taxes because of that arrangement.
I see. So Beverly pays taxes to Wenham for the use of the
Yes,
land?
yes.
Okay. And then are they interested in having someone on the
No,
commission?
we've offered that, but no.
Okay. So the airport is owned by the city of Beverly?
Yes.
How is it funded? You know, how is it actually funded? And I know you talked a little bit about some of the grants and
Well,
things
our
like that.
revenue base this year is about $366,000, and it's really funded from the leases and many things, landing fees, and many others, right, Bob?
Yeah, it's mostly from the leases and the landing fees. And then we have,
The blimp. The blimp.
yeah, what they call, these are specialty fees when we have events like when the parking fees, when the blimps come in.
Okay.
And
So where's most of the revenue generated? From the leases or from landing fees, or what's the biggest portion?
from the leases.
Leases.
How many tenants are up
From
there?
the leases. Well, we've got North Atlantic Air, and that's the primary lessee, who's you might call the golden goose. They give us most of the money to our enterprise fund. They do all of the fueling at the airport. They have a flight school operation and repairs, avionics and regular mechanical repairs. And then we've got Cat Aviation, which leases space for tie downs and inside storage of aircraft. And then we've got also on the east side, we've got another flight school that's over there. And we've also have more aircraft storage and private ownership hangars and tie downs. And we've got one sublessee of North Atlantic here that produces what they call sport aircraft, small type aircraft that they built them from scratch.
So how does it work with who maintains the buildings, what do you call it, a tower, airport tower, the land, what is it called, the watchtower?
The control tower.
The control tower, yeah.
We have the control tower that we have. It was originally an FAA tower. Now it's a contract. It's people that are mostly retired air traffic controllers.
I see.
So it's a contract control tower.
So what about the runways and the pavement and all that? How does that all get maintained?
That's some of the grants we get.
I see.
In fact, in another year or 2, we'll do the major runway from Beverly to Wenham. It'll cost $4 million, and we will pay 5% of that $4 million. And the money we
And
get...
that's all coming out of the revenue generated?
No,
Or is-
actually, we have a fund, and what we do to pay our share, we have sold land. We own quite a bit of property. We sell the land. The money we get from that sale, we put into the fund. And then when these big projects come up, like a runway, we take it out of the fund, and that's how we pay our 5% share. Everything is 5% that we pay.
And is there anything on the books or discussions about making it larger in relation to, and another question is, how large of an aircraft can be landed there? And is there any interest in making it larger to land larger planes or anything like that?
No, just a couple of points. I'll let Bob add on to it. There's 415 acres in the airport. The runways are 5,001 foot and about 4,600 feet. Larger airplanes would take from 7 to 10,000 feet of runway. And also our surface is just 4 inches. A surface for the larger planes, it has to be 9 inches.
Okay.
So we are really, and there's no more space to add, and we could not extend. But Bob might want to comment on the type of aircraft that we have.
Yeah, the type of aircraft that we have, we're considered what they call a B2 aircraft type airport.
B2?
B2.
So how's that, what's Logan called? What category? Is that like a,
Yeah, they're another world.
It's a whole nother,
Yeah, this is general aviation. We're a general aviation. Well, we just recently classified as a regional airport, but we're also a reliever to Logan Airport, meaning that if they get crowded, we'll take their general aviation type aircraft,
I see.
the smaller stuff.
smaller stuff?
But we're considered the B2 aircraft, which means that we can take aircraft such as Falcon and Challengers and Hawkers, the business type corporate jets
Okay.
that can accommodate, if they were configured for passengers, you can always, custom configure a corporate jet. But if they were 100% configured for passengers, they'd be like 9, 10 type passenger.
A lot different than Logan
Right,
Airport. Yeah,
right.
that's still a whole
The,
different
the,
ballgame,
the
yeah.
largest corporate that we would get would be like a Gulfstream 5, and that could take, if it was configured for passengers, maybe 19.
So you're seeing most of the traffic from the corporate jets? Is that where most of it
Well,
comes
what's
from?
happening now, this is a nationwide trend, is the smaller aircraft are phasing out. It's getting too expensive for the private pilot, for flight lessons and for insurance, products liability, and what have you. And so, there's not that many student starts happening like they used to. The GI Bill, they used, which was just reinstated, but it hasn't shown yet on the numbers. But for a long time, the GIs weren't getting the money from the government to learn how to be a pilot like Bill did when he came out of World War II.
Yeah.
And so the corporate activity has risen while the smaller stuff has gone down. The corporate stuff, of course, helps with the community, and that's where we get which I didn't tell you before, but we also get money from fuel flowage fees. We get 5 cents per gallon, whatever's pumped.
Okay.
So when a corporate comes in, they'll get 1,000 gallons at a whack, and we get a higher fuel flowage fee than, say, a single engine coming in getting 15 gallons
I see.
at a time. But we're getting more corporate activity, but that does not mean meaning it's going to be louder at the airport, because we've got, with the introduction of GPS, the pilots can come in higher and without getting down low to create any noise.
So we're going to touch on that. Was my next question. Before I do that, it kind of relates to the noise. How many planes on average land at the airport a day? And are there seasons that are busier or months that are busier? Do you have any of those statistics as to what the volume of planes actually that get
One
land?
quick one, you mentioned the jets. 100 to 120 business jets come in a month, and that's been going on for a few years. 100 to 120.
A month?
A month.
Average, okay.
Average. And which is pretty important to our business.
Now, how does that relate to maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago? I mean, what is it?
It's increased.
It's
The corporates have
gradually
increased.
increased, or has it gone down and up? And
It increased maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it stayed the same. This 100 to 120 would be the same number I would have given you 3 or 4 years ago.
now, where are they mostly? Where are they ending up? The people that land here, where are they going?
To visit all the companies that are around.
So it could be, more corporate activity. I assume like the Cummings Center or
Sure. All the stores, the
Upper
shopping
Conant
centers.
Street, Cherry Hill
Oh, yeah.
Park, and all the
Yeah.
or shopping center
Sure,
executives.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The airport, for many years, of course, has been a municipal airport, and just a couple of years ago, the FAA did a nationwide survey of all the airports in the United States, and we were out of over close to 3,000 airports that they looked at. 467 were recategorized from municipal to regional. We were one of them. There was Lawrence and Norwood and us, which meant that the economic reach of our airport is not just local, it's now reached into regional.
I see.
Extended state markets, not just local markets.
So we'll touch on that now. We'll get back to the noise part of it. We were talking to you earlier before the show about you just worked with the city council to get approval on the regional as a regional airport. So
Yes.
what does that mean? What's the benefits?
After Bob told you the statistic about the FAA, one other statistic, of the 110 aircraft based at Beverly, only 12.9% or 14 are from Beverly residents. The other 96, including 6 from out of state, are from all over. So it truly was a regional airport. The city council has to approve a change. We went before the council a few weeks ago, but because the word municipal is in the Beverly Charter, they had to advertise a legal notice in the newspaper for 7 days that we're going to change it. They finally agreed on that, and I believe a week ago tonight that they made their final approval, and we will change all our letterheads and business cards, and the state will stamp in the type of regional airport on all these signs you see on state highways.
So it'll be Beverly Regional Airport?
Yes.
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 Instead of Municipal Airport?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beverly Regional. It's still John Mountain Field is the name of the airport, located
Okay,
out
yeah.
Ennis Road, but the type of airport, it'll be a regional airport.
Yeah.
The other airport in Massachusetts, which has already changed their name from municipal to regional, was Westfield Barnes. Their city council also approved the name change. It's also it's a perception too, you know, which is great for marketing an airport. It tells the people out there, again, that this airport can reach out beyond just local markets.
Right.
It's got a much farther economic reach.
So I'm in real estate. I get asked, not a lot, but you have people that ask, especially that live around the airport, or you're showing them houses near the airport. What's this airport? You know, I don't want to buy a house here. There's going to be too much noise, and now it's a regional airport. I mean, so what would you say about all that, and how do you deal with, you know, being a good neighbor and keeping the noise down?
Well, we have the good neighbor policy, and every time we get a noise complaint, I have a sound meter. We will go check that out. So it's important to us. But you know, but the jets, with the introduction of jets, they get up quick. We generally don't get noise complaints from jets. We get noise complaints from somebody that's got an old airplane and it doesn't sound good and it goes slow and stays over a certain location for a long period of time.
I see.
The jets get up and go. And I was in GE in the jet engine business, and we built these engines, and you move quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's getting off the ground quicker and out
Yes.
of the
Yes.
noise area.
And again,
yes.
with GPS technology and the engines, noisy engines, have been phased out over the last 30 years at least. You know, different stage type engines have been phased out, so the engines are much quieter
Much
nowadays
quieter.
too. I very rarely get noise complaints anymore. Mostly the complaints that I get is from the touch and go traffic, you know, from the training aircraft.
I see.
And that's based upon how much traffic they have, because the air traffic controllers have to extend them out or stack them up or what have you. But even those, to tell you the truth, I very get hardly any.
I'm curious
Noise-
too, because
noise.
we talked about Wenham and Danvers. I wonder how, I mean, I don't know who would possibly complain more about noise, depending on the proximity to the airport. Would it be someone from Danvers, Wenham, or Beverly? As far as the houses, I know that Danvers has, you know, those homes that are
Yeah.
all on the other side. That
It's spotty. I think Danvers maybe right now maybe has the most, but it's spotty. It goes back and forth depending on the neighborhood.
But generally
But we-
speaking, you don't have really any opposition about having the airport or people
No, we've
complaining. Yeah.
we've institutionalized a preferential runway system, a quiet runway system that they use along our runways, the north-south runway.
Yeah.
We've got matter of fact, we've got a publication that we have that outlines our noise abatement program, that if anyone wants to call,
yeah.
the airport will mail it to them, or they can go online to www.beverlyairport.com and see this same document.
So it's a noise abatement program brochure.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
also is a noise sensitive map as well. But we also, you know, we a lot of it is voluntary because of FAA rules. We can't just outright tell a pilot you can't come in. But we have a great relationship. You know, we get pilots that call us up and they tell us we're going to be coming into your airport. What are your noise abatement rules? And we'll tell them, you know, please don't come in between this time, and when you do come in, follow these procedures for landing and takeoff. And as I mentioned, it's proved very successful because we don't get that many noise complaints anymore.
Which is important.
Yeah, and it's all, again, because not only are these noise abatement publications made available to the pilots, they're also made available to numerous pilot publications that are out there.
Yeah.
Jefferson's and as one of them that also explains in detail our rules and regulations for good neighbor policy.
Yep. So how does it benefit Beverly homeowners, surrounding communities? What's the direct or indirect, or what is your thought on how does the airport benefit the homeowner? People that live in the community. What is it?
Of course, I think the community, the financial impact as a result of Beverly Airport on the region is $32.5 million a year.
Wow.
That's up from 21.9 3 or 4 years ago. And the state make this study. This isn't something we do.
Right.
The state make a study, interview people, and come up with these numbers. So that's the financial impact on the region.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a direct benefit.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, a lot of people think that the airport is, well, I don't want to learn how to fly, I don't
Right.
have, I don't have
What
a
do
lot
we-
of money. It's rich guys that got planes,
Right.
so how's it going to benefit me? And the benefit is, but that if you want to take a foliage tour, well, there's planes they can do that. If you want to take city tours, we got a helicopter outfit out there. It takes you all around Boston and all the environs, fish spotting, and then we got the regular activity, the business craft, the business aircraft and the corporate activities out there, and it is the money. It's an intangible. There's about $20 million in direct economic benefit to the communities, and we have indirect rollover effect type money that rolls throughout the community. That's pretty nuts. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
$32 million.
Absolutely.
So we're contributing to the economic picture of the. We're not taking. We're giving.
Right.
And
which is
two
very
other-
important. It's
Yeah.
not it's not costing the homeowner.
Correct.
Right.
To keep it open.
Yeah. And two other intangibles, of course, but the most important one is the cadets, the young cadets, the Civil Air Patrol. The Civil Air Patrol, they go every Wednesday night, they drill, they learn to fly. Some of them have gone on to the academies and so on. So we have that. That's a benefit to Beverly kids
Absolutely.
that do this. So it's a big step.
Yep. So we talked about revenue generated through landing fees, through leases. What portion, or what, if any portion, goes directly to or back to the city to, as revenue generated? Is it from the property taxes? How does Beverly directly get money from the airport, or if they do at all?
Not from the airport, but the property taxes that people pay,
I see.
especially the non-aviation businesses. They pay the taxes.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're getting tax revenue from
Yes.
At commercial rate, I would assume, too. Is that how it
But
works?
we don't
or
get
the-
into that. It's
We- yeah,
with all of our leases that it's incumbent upon the person that we have the lease with to get involved with any taxes that are due
Yeah.
the cities and what have you.
Okay. You mentioned, what was it, 400 and something acres? How many?
415.
415.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that, I think you mentioned it, you're selling off some land actively, or is that, what's happening with some of the land? Are you selling some of the land?
From time to time, we sell land. Right now, we have an RFP on the street that's going to be opened up in about a month to sell a 3-acre piece. And from that money, of course, we would use to pay our share of these grants. And
Okay.
of course, one of the big things I share is the new administration building the state are putting up. It's worth $3.8 million. Our share is $202,000.
Wow.
We'll pay that $202,000 out of our share of the land sales.
Yeah. So obviously, this is land that the airport would never need to use, want to use.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the
Right.
most,
There's a
who do you think the buyer will be? I mean, airport related,
Well,
or industrial? or
the
commercial?
last piece we sold was to Socorro the tree
Oh, okay,
fellow.
yeah.
And he bought a 3-acre piece right behind our building. And this other piece that we have up for sale currently is across the street from him on Sam Fonzo Drive.
Okay.
And hopefully we will get a bidder for that. And that'll further finance us for years to come.
So Sam Fonzo Drive is on the back side, I think, of Cherry Hill.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
put another, industrial building or
Yeah.
part of Cherry
Yeah.
Hill Industrial Park?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought up Cherry Hill Park. One of the reasons Tom Flatley built Cherry Hill Park was its proximity to the Beverly Airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of
Yeah.
people going to the Cherry Hill
Yes.
Park that
Yeah.
land there.
But the process, for us to get, property either for sale or lease, we have to go through a process with the FAA to declare it non-aviation, because there are parcels out there that genuinely cannot be used for aviation purposes.
Right.
So,
So talk a little bit more about the improvements going on there. You mentioned the building. So is that replacing another building?
No.
Or how is that working?
Bob Cuntley's
additional?
office is in a maintenance building, and that's all it is. Many people come to the airport and say, where's the administration building? Where do we log in? So this building will be up at the top of the ramp near the tower. It'll be state-of-the-art, and he'll have a very nice residence for a while. And it's pretty important to us to have it. And like many airports in Massachusetts, the approaches to the buildings were almost non-existent, or buildings in poor condition.
Right.
And so that's why the state are investing this money, and that's why it's this estate, not feds. They're paying the 95% of this bill.
Wow.
In fact, we meet with the contractor, the architect, the engineers once a week, and we discuss the progress of this building project.
So
Very
when will that be
important.
done? When will that be completed?
the building itself will be done probably around February.
Okay.
But there'll probably be a ribbon cutting ceremony probably in the spring, I would
Okay,
imagine.
good.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Excellent. That will really
But,
make a big difference.
Yeah,
It will.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great state program. And again, this is not general tax money from the state. It's user fee money. This is money, state tax money that's put onto like aviation gasoline or aviation tickets or aviation tires. So it's a user tax.
I see.
It's not a general tax that's coming out of the state for these administration buildings.
Okay.
And it's a great program, as Bill mentioned. And what the goal of the state was to have, good-looking administration buildings for the corporates and to introduce not just the corporates but the communities, introduce them to aviation, because we're going to have a nice-looking area up at our airport where they can sit, the public, and look out and see the planes. Very
Right.
important for them to be able to see the planes.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to come to the airport, and we'll have a restaurant. They can have picnic table type chairs and good-looking area where they can, as the state would like to do, introduce them to aviation.
Yep. Excellent. Well, we're just about done. I just wanted to ask one quick question. Where is the closest next airport comparable to Beverly Airport?
Lawrence.
So Lawrence,
I guess,
okay.
yeah,
Lawrence, and then
Because a lot of them
Norwood.
have really gone away, haven't they?
No.
Generally, or they come?
Although way back when they designed 128, they wanted to make sure there's an airport every few miles. So you have the Bedford, you have the Norwood, you have the Plymouth. So there's an airport. If you go up 128 every 30 miles or so, you're going to hit an airport.
Okay. Interesting. Really great stuff. So if people, our viewers, needed to or wanted to talk to you further, you mentioned the website. How would they get a hold of you?
They can either, call my number at 978-921-6207, or they can go online.
Would you say Beverly Airport?
What's that?
What was the website again?
www.beverlyairport.com.
BeverlyAirport.com. Okay. And
My home phone number is 978-922-8083.
excellent. So you guys seem to be, well, we talked about earlier, great experience. Seem to be really willing to talk to the community and
Yes.
make sure everyone knows everything they
Yes.
need to know about the airport and answer questions.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you, BevCam, as always, for having us here at in the studio. If you have any questions for me, you can always call me at 978-927-6030. And you can also visit my website, which is jasonparisellateam.com. Look forward to seeing you next time on Jason's in the House. Thank you.